Now, let's move on to the next of the foundations of economics, marginal thinking. This is one we will return to over and over throughout this course and throughout every economics course you come to, because this is one of the foundation of economics that really is a hallmark of economics. It's not something we necessarily think about or talk about in other disciplines or in our regular everyday life, but it's certainly part of all of our choices that we make in everyday life, and it's really critical to being able to think about things like an economist. Um, so speaking of that, thinking about things like like an economist, economic thinking is purposeful evaluation of available opportunities to make the best decision possible. So remember, one of the ways of describing what economics is that it's a study of how people make decisions, how people behave. And part of studying how people behave is thinking about people as making purposeful evaluations of their opportunities to make the best decision possible. Economic thinking requires marginal thinking. So, what is marginal thinking? Marginal thinking is evaluating whether the benefit of one more unit of something is greater than its cost. So, this is where you watching me talk to you on a screen is a little bit of a disadvantage. This is where if I were in front of you in a classroom, you would see me start shuffling my feet across the front of the room. This is what I do every time I start to think about marginal thinking, because what we're really thinking about here is taking one step, right? And you don't consider all the steps you took before, and you don't think about all the steps that you might take in the future. You think about that one next step. That's the margin. So where have you heard the word margin before? A lot of us think about margins as the edges of our paper when we're writing in English or we're making a document in a word processor. Um, Margins are edges. So we're thinking about a decision on the edge as we take the very next step. What is going to be the benefit of that step? And also, what is going to be the cost of that step? This is marginal thinking. Marginal benefit is the additional benefit from one more unit, from one step forward. A marginal cost is what is the additional cost from one step forward. Marginal thinking really helps us to be able to make decisions by helping us to evaluate whether the marginal benefit is greater than or equal to the marginal cost. And if it is, then sure, take that step, right? So an example that a student used in class a while back that I really like was it was about he talked about hiking. So when you've been hiking all day, it's been gorgeous in the woods, it's been a great day, and you come to a cliff, right? And now you have to decide, should I take the next step or not? Um, to make the best decision about what to do, you need to think on the margin. Don't think about all the beautiful things that you might be able to see if you could get across the cliff onto the next piece of land way out there that you can see in the distance, right? Don't think about the steps that you might could take in the future. Don't think about all the steps you've taken today. It's been a beautiful day. It's been a great hike. You've had a lot of fun. All those steps in the past don't matter as far as making the best choice right now. Right now, you're standing on the edge of a cliff, and you need to think about the next step forward. If you take one more step forward, what's the benefit? If you take one more step forward, what's the cost? The benefit might be that it's a fun ride down. The cost is that at the bottom you hit hard, right? So think about, is that benefit greater than the cost of taking the next step? And that is how you make the best choice of whether to take the next step. You don't think about everything that happened in the past. You don't think about everything that could happen in the future. You think on the margin. You think about that very next step, and you think about the benefits versus the cost of that next step. And that is key to thinking like an economist and making good decisions.